The English Channel, stretching 560 kilometers between Dover and Land's End. 75,000 square kilometers of sea, separating Britain from mainland Europe. 1 billion tons of marine traffic each year. Once a historic naval battleground, now the world's busiest waterway. On the front line,
Coast Guard Rescue.
elite teams, enforcing order and combating disaster as they police, patrol and rescue in the Channel 24/7.
Can you just give us an update on the casualties condition?
Coming up, agony for an injured climber as the RAF battle rising tides in a cliffside drama.
Softer being thrown away from him about a 4.5-hour reach.
It's emergency stations on board the QM2 as the luxury cruise liner launches a full-scale fire drill.
We have multiple casualties in this area.
Dover's RNLI lifeboat crew race to the rescue of a stricken seaman.
I need a doctor.
Get up to sea in there.
And a young boy gets the ride of his life after a family day trip disaster.
Stop, Richard. Stop.
At Royal Marine Base Chivenham, the RAF search and rescue team executed 340 winch operations in 2009. Daily training keeps their skills sharp, preparing them for real emergencies. But today's exercise is about to turn into a genuine rescue.
Sorry, Coast Guard Rescue sign.
We called from ambulance control of a male cliff faller. I believe he's at the base of the cliff with back injuries.
And that's copy, they're anticipating on scene in 7 minutes.
We're on our way out to Ogmore Cliffs where a man's fallen down. We think he's probably got a spinal injury, he's been climbing there.
Ogmore by Sea is a popular location for climbing, but is subject to rapidly changing tides, with high tide reaching almost 9 meters up the cliffs. And as Ollie pilots the Sea King on the short journey to the accident site, the tide is already turning.
Directly down the cliff from the ambulance.
They spot the casualty, a climber who's fallen 5 meters onto a brutal terrain of sharp limestone rock.
The terrain looks really difficult, Haz. My money is we go a bit higher and we put Haz down on the flat area just this side of the casualty. Okay, do you want to do that?
He's situated directly under a large overhanging cliff. The cliff ledge means that it's not possible to winch directly down without the winch wire making contact with the rock face and potentially severing.
Worst case, the rock face will just chew away at the cable and that's it, we break the cable.
Ollie positions the helicopter over the water.
We're having to hover quite high to keep the downwash clear of the casualty and to keep the cable clear of the rocks. We are at 50 feet, clear the winch. Winching out.
Okay, safely over the side and clear the climb.
90 feet, 110.
Winchman and paramedic Paul Haz Hunter is winched down. Ollie takes the helicopter to 37 meters and skillfully maneuvers him towards the beach.
Right 20. It's good speed, right 10. He's on the ground, he's disconnecting. Empty hook winching him.
Haz makes a quick assessment of casualty Nigel Tuckley's injuries.
Okay. Both open fracture of the wrist, clearly spinal.
It's an agonizing injury. It needs careful treatment, and Haz must work rapidly.
Not got long here, tide's coming in fast.
They've got to winch off the beach before they're swamped by the sea. across the English Channel, and a very different challenge is about to get underway. All vessels sailing under a British flag are subject to a rigorous annual safety inspection from the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency, who have a reputation for striving to exceed international standards.
It's about 11 seconds, it's way too quick.
Even the smallest details are scrutinised by two of their most exacting inspectors, Derek Thorrington and Simon Graves. But today they're testing safety on a grand scale, assessing a major fire drill on board the largest ship sailing under a British flag and the biggest ocean liner ever built, the Queen Mary 2. The 151,000-ton QM2 sails transatlantic routes all year round. The safety of over 3,000 passengers and crew is the responsibility of the captain, Commodore Bernard Warner.
You have to understand that on a large ship like this, when we're out at sea, we can't call the fire brigade. So all of us here on board have to be capable to deal with any emergency that arises. I think our guests expect nothing more, and we want to deliver nothing less.
Today, the ocean liner is docked at Zeebrugge in Belgium. Most passengers are on shore on excursions, but all crew leave has been cancelled. Their competency will be tested in a drill the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency have designed with the QM2's owners, the Carnival Corporation. The aim is to far exceed international safety standards.
This particular drill is beyond what we would normally do, but Carnival are masochistic like that. They like to push their own boundaries, so we're very happy with that.
It's 9:30 a.m. and most of the ship's 1,253-strong crew are gathering in the QM2 cinema and planetarium, known as Illuminations. Everyone from able seamen to casino staff file in believing they're about to get a routine safety lecture from the MCA surveyors.
I'll make my way to the front.
You better do,
Preparation for this.
Whatever their job, every crew member has a vital secondary safety role.
The scenario will kick off when Simon uses the magic words "enjoy it," and then the smoke will start filling up the theatre, and we'll see the responses. Good morning, everybody. I feel like the president here. Simon even gets a clap. What we need to see with the drills is that you show us exactly what you can do. Take your time, do it the correct way. And I think the biggest thing for us is that you get out there and you enjoy it.
Enjoy it is the signal which triggers the series of special effects designed by the ship's entertainment team to simulate a real fire.
Ladies and gentlemen, it seems we have a small fire in Illuminations. Would you please stand and make your way to the nearest exit in a calm and orderly fashion?
A number of crew members have already been told to stay behind and act as casualties. In overall command of the fire attack is the Chief Officer of the QM2, Nigel Smythe.
Bridge Chief Officer, I'm currently on scene now in the Illuminations Theatre. We have heavy smoke inside the theatre.
The crew of the QM2 are now about to face one of their toughest ever safety tests. On the cliffs at Ogmore-by-Sea on the Welsh coast, climber Nigel has fallen onto rocks, fracturing his wrist and possibly injuring his neck and back.
So, open fracture of the wrist, query spinal.
His partner Bev raised the alarm, and now winchman and paramedic Haz is on the scene. But the incoming tide is posing a real threat to the rescue mission.
Not got long here, tide's coming in fast, isn't it?
Haz immediately gives Nigel morphine for the pain. His fractured wrist bone has broken through the skin.
I know. Because you've got an open fracture there, I've got to clean it out and I've got to dress it, alright? You don't want infection in there.
Haz bandages Nigel's wrist to keep it sterile. But despite the morphine and gas and air, the pain is excruciating.
Big breaths, keep breathing. shout, scream. All done. That's it. That's the worst done. All right. You can hate me. You can swear at me. You can do what you want. All right. I'm happy with that now.
As it's moving around, I don't think it's going to be long.
Haz must drag the stretcher from the winch down point across sharp limestone crags to get it to Nigel.
Those rocks look pretty tricky to cross.
A difficult situation is made worse by the rapidly approaching tide. In a matter of minutes, they will all be underwater, and the only way out is up.
Oh, I'm going to send 2 straps down. Okay. I've got a bit of an overhang by about 1.5 foot that you can deliver me to the end, and I can walk it back.
The strops are lowered to pick up Nigel's partner, Bev.
Steady. 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 Unfortunately, the strops are being blown away from him at the moment the tide's come in.
But the overhanging cliff is stopping the strops reaching them.
Put them into the water and see if they'll go in that way. Steady, the left one. I think he's got them. Negative. No, he hasn't got them yet. They're about 1.5 foot out of reach. I'm going to have to put some weights on.
With Haz unable to grab the strops, they're winched back on board the helicopter.
I'll put 3 weights on, Paul. Okay.
This should give the strops more swing and prevent them from being blown away.
I'm happy you're going to start moving in now, right 50. See where he is. Right.
Finally, he's got them.
That's good clean lift. Nicely done.
Despite the odds being stacked against them, Bev is successfully winched in. But down on the ground, the tide has closed in around Nigel and Haz.
Pushing out, I'll have to go in swinging and hold it there. Steady. I need to fly the aircraft very smoothly. I need to listen to what Steve's telling me to do. Make sure the winching is as smooth as possible. We don't make the back injuries any worse. I'm sure he's got it there. Yeah, I've got it. Good.
As soon as the winch line is on the stretcher, Ollie must fly the helicopter away from the cliffs, while Steve winches the stretcher up in one perfectly coordinated manoeuvre.
Move left. Excellent.
It's proving an extremely challenging job for Rescue 169.
Don't want it to be any closer with the tide next time. 15. Okay, hoist the pilot. Pilot, winch out. Stop winching.
With Nigel still in pain but stable, the helicopter heads for Swansea Morriston Hospital.
How long, guys? About 9 minutes. Sorry I was so long, but the ground was not conducive to working down there. No. It's an understatement, I think. He took most of the force of the fall on that wrist. Yeah, obviously put his hand out. Yeah. Landing on. Good on left and forwards.
As they land, it won't be long before Nigel's injuries are assessed.
One of the trickiest winches I've ever done. That was really challenging.
It's been a tough but satisfying rescue for the crew.
That one was a particularly physically demanding one for me, and also quite a mentally challenging one as well. I wouldn't have liked to time that any closer to when the tide was coming in, but I think we achieved a good result then.
In Zeebrugge, a major fire drill is underway on the world's biggest ocean liner, Queen Mary 2.
Bridge Chief Officer, I'm currently on scene now in the illuminations theatre. We have heavy smoke inside the theatre. Recommend crew alert.
crew alert is the call for crew members throughout the ship to take on their emergency role. In a real fire, passengers would be relying on them to save their lives.
We expect to get a fire team in within 10 minutes.
All cabins to be evacuated.
If all goes to plan, over the course of one intense hour, Derek and Simon will cover the entire ship. 14 decks, 1,300 cabins and miles of corridor, making sure everyone is doing their job.
Next stage is going to be their actual response to fighting the fire. We'll see how they do.
One outcome nozzle. How much air you got? 200.
With this drill, the QM2's owners and the MCA are pushing to set a benchmark for cruise ship safety.
Fire team one, you ready?
13 minutes after their call-out, the firefighting team are finally ready to enter the theatre.
Ready? Ready.
24 men in full kit and breathing apparatus will work in teams of 4. Divided between firefighting and searching for casualties, they'll rotate in and out of the space as their oxygen is used up.
And we have multiple casualties in the theatre of illumination.
But these tough drills are designed to expose weaker areas, and Derek is keeping a close watch.
I think you all have to come out because you're posed to look. Back out, everyone out.
Derek has seen that the hoses are too tangled to work effectively.
Just make it clear. Yes. Spanners, hose handlers, spanners. Check every one of those couplings.
In a real emergency, this could cost precious seconds.
We had a bit of a problem when the team first went in. The hoses got a bit tangled, so the team had to evacuate, reconnect their hoses, regroup, and prepare for a second re-entry on the space using the same guy.
Happy to go back in? Okay. So far you found smoke and you think the fire is on the bottom level, is that correct? That's correct. Okay. Ready? Ready. Come on, let's go!
The firefighters can now start tackling the simulated blaze.
Guests at this stage are below.
The liner's doors are designed so a hose can be fed through, and the door shut to help contain the fire. Meanwhile, Simon spotted some unexpected...
What are you doing here? You're the stretcher party. So are you going to rescue these casualties?
Yeah.
With a big fire there? Should we just step outside a second just so we can have a chat? So who sent you...
The medical officer.
Is that he sent you into a room where there's a fire. You 4 are now out of action, so if you can just wait inside and just wait to get rescued.
Leaving the firefighters to attempt to control the blaze, Derek and Simon want to put the rest of the crew to the test. And they've got a lot of ground to cover.
Okay, my name is Lieutenant Commander Parkinson Smythe. What's your job on board?
My job?
Yeah.
Entertainment staff, but my priority job is, of course, safety on board.
Luckily, I'm a professional seafarer. So, it's okay, ladies and gentlemen, I know exactly what happens in circumstances like this. Women and children first.
I'm a passenger now, and I'm just wandering up here. What are you going to tell me?
There's a fire on
there. Hey? But my cabin's through there.
There's a fire in there.
Ah, so where do I have to go?
Next one, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'm no longer a passenger anymore.
And I'm just going to catch up with you over here, sir, if I can.
So are you saying that I'm wrong and you don't care about the women and children?
What's your job?
Check the oil cabin.
Okay, so you haven't checked them yet then? You have checked them?
Not yet.
You have not yet?
Yeah, not yet.
Have you checked them or have you not checked them?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Back at the scene of the fire, casualties are being dragged out of the theatre.
I will search the balcony areas now.
And we hear that the chief officer is still trying to get a handle on the passenger numbers, so... What are you doing, boys? Where's the fire? It's out, is it? Right.
The fire may be out, but there are still casualties unaccounted for.
The casualty searching is being done by the fire team that's entered from the top of the space, and the other fire team is damping down. They've obviously got the fire out now because the noise has stopped.
Even with their breathing apparatus and helmets, searching for casualties in the smoky theatre is a challenging task.
There's still one casualty that's just a couple of rows adjacent to us, still whimpering and crying, as you can probably hear. I'm just going to tell her to quieten it down a bit. Can I ask you to be really quiet? It's obvious that they've missed you, so I want to make it a bit more difficult for them.
Derek wants to see that the fire crew have searched the cinema row by row to make sure that no casualty is overlooked.
I mean, looking at the positive side of things, you know, they've recovered a lot of casualties in what are very difficult circumstances, so you've got to give them credit for that, but 99% isn't enough, really, especially considering that the casualty down here is obviously still alive. Is that Nigel over there? Hello, Nigel. So are all the passengers accounted for now?
I'm being told that the area has been cleared. We're waiting for staff chief to confirm that he's fully completed the search.
They obviously forgotten about you.
Oh no, it's not a good idea.
No, it isn't really. So I just want them to confirm that, okay. And then we'll blow them out the water. You would think that, oh, they're coming back in. Perhaps they'll have another sweep. Perhaps they heard me.
They finally found the missing casualty.
By the looks of things, they're doing a final sweep of the space, which is really good to see. I thought they might have forgotten about this one.
With everyone accounted for, the exercise is over.
I think we can put the house lights back up now. Back in the land of the living.
The fire crews managed to extinguish the fire and rescue all casualties in the timescale set out by the MCA, and the rest of the crew performed their jobs well. For the captain of the QM2, the drill has proved a very useful learning experience.
Everyone involved with the drill was pleased with the result. We take out the positives. We look at things that perhaps we could do better. It's at the foremost of everybody's thoughts here on board the ship is the safety of our guests, crew, and this fine ocean life.
Out in the Celtic Sea, 130 kilometres off the Gower Peninsula, the Royal Navy Fishery Protection Squadron vessel HMS 7 is out on patrol.
Bravo 350.
The squadron are working to protect fish stocks in the British fishery limits, under the direction of the Marine Management Organisation, or MMO. They have the right to board any fishing vessel to check their catches and ensure their fishing equipment is legal. In command is Lieutenant Adrian Visram.
We've just hailed a UK-flagged fisherman out of Northern Ireland, and he hasn't been boarded for over a year, so it's a good chance to get on there and make sure that he's remaining compliant with all legislation. He's just hauled his nets, so you can check that straight away. Boarding authorised, 1651.
Boarding officer Lieutenant Paul Caddy and his crew set off to inspect the 20-metre twin-rig trawler, Benaya 4. She's made the 20-hour journey from Kilkeel to the fishing grounds off the Welsh coast, where Dublin Bay prawns are plentiful. These large prawns, which can be sold whole, present the most viable option for trawlers facing heavy restrictions on their white fish catch. To make any profit from the trip, skipper John Tegerty plans to be out for up to 14 days. Margins are getting tighter and tighter.
Our fishing's finished, just with prices and quality of stocks. Price of fuel.
Boarding officer Paul is aware that their presence on board isn't always popular.
It's very much a case of time is money to the fishermen. The longer they've got their gear on deck, the more time and fishing hours they're losing. Circumference from 5 meshes up.
Paul is checking that the nets match the dimensions stated in the logbook and are the correct size for the catch on board.
120. Pass. Force set 125. From 5 meshes up at the bottom.
Regulations stipulate a minimum mesh size in the ends of the nets, known as cod ends, to allow young fish to escape.
We use the Amiga gauge for measuring the size of the nets. It applies exactly the amount of force required by the law to the net in determining the size of each mesh. 76, 79, 75.
Paul's measurements are showing that the mesh size is smaller than the 80mm stipulated by UK law.
The catch is controlled by how big the net is. He's told us that he's got an 80mm net. It's come out a bit smaller than that. The mesh size is slightly too small for the cod end. It's come out at 77.4mm. Are you declaring 70mm or is it 80mm in the logbook? 80's in the book. Do you accept that we've done that fairly? I don't know how much of that you saw and how much we spent driving.
Fair.
Yeah.
I can't dispute what you
Yeah. And if you're happy with 77.4.
It's not unusual for a net's mesh size to tighten slightly, with build-up of sediment in the twines.
They're not a year old yet, you know? Just shrinkage. Just need more new gear, more expense.
But the skipper could be facing a fine as well as a bill for new nets.
Average 76.3, so yeah, they're both a bit under. Okay, that's all of the nets done. They're not going to let you continue fishing until we've changed the cod ends, and I'll need to look at the documentation and what have you first anyway. So if you can keep the gear on deck for me until I tell you that it's okay to carry on fishing. Yeah. Okay. Have you not got another one on board? We finished doing the gear inspection. We found that both nets have got mesh sizes below that declared in the logbook, meaning the holes in the nets are smaller than he said they are.
Paul radios HMS 7 with his findings.
I've got cod end mesh size improvements on both nets.
The rules never get easier. There's more rules. Everybody's trying to work to conserve, but I don't know whether it is or not. Everybody has their own opinions.
The skipper's offence will be considered to be more serious if it's discovered he's actually caught the sorts of whitefish which are only permissible with 80mm nets.
Can't get it out of, you know. Right, that's coming out to about 27, 28, so I'll call it 25. Happy with that. Spotty dog.
Fortunately, the Benaya has been targeting prawns, which are permitted, and they make up the majority of the catch.
Right. Okay, skipper, if you want to continue this trip, it'll have to be for just 70mm species, but you're not going to be able to keep fishing with them targeting species that are an 80mm catch composition type. Now, I've looked at the numbers, and at the minute, you're right on the nose for 70mm, so you can keep fishing with these if you want, but you've got to be very careful what you catch. You've pretty much got to catch just prawns at this point.
No, it's too much for chance for prawns.
Yeah.
So change it.
Yeah, to be honest, that's what I'd do as well. Yeah, in this case, that amounts to a warning for the gear. Otherwise, that's our inspection complete.
It's a costly decision for the Benaya. Only 4 days into the trip, the skipper will be lucky to cover his overheads.
We're not stopping him being at sea, we're saying he has to change his cod ends. If he had a spare one that was the right size on board, he'd be more than welcome to carry on fishing.
Well, you have to comply with the rules. We'll have to check all our ends now when we go home. I can't afford to take a chance. I don't want no summonses.
Regardless of the catch, twin riggers like the Benaya are not allowed to fish in the area with nets less than 80mm. She could be facing further action. 160 kilometres to the southeast, at Chivner Airfield in North Devon, Rescue 169 are about to take off on their next job.
Rescue 169 lifting and departing east.
The call is from Swansea Coast Guard to a family in distress at Watchet, 50 kilometres away.
Swansea 169, we're airborne, 4 persons on board. John Speed, Watchet in 1 5 minutes.
Coast Guard, Roger. The only position we've got is close to the tree between Watchet and Blue Anchor. No injuries as we know of, they are just cut off at present. Over.
Full cover, thank you. Proper cut off by the tide, high water's 12:13, it's called by the Coast Guard to 4 people cut off by the tide on the North Devon coast and Watchet. High tides any time now, so the all likelihood is that they've been driven up the beach by the tide. Coast Guard are getting their other assets to help us out, and the cliff rescue team on the way. We should be there in 10 minutes, probably be the first on scene.
The family with 2 young children were walking on the unfamiliar beach, unaware that the tide was turning. Now they're stranded halfway up the cliffside. it's an all too familiar scenario for winchmen Andy Penrose.
A lot of people come North Devon for the hauls, and unfortunately they're not used to the area. They might be from inner cities and stuff, but they don't get to the coastline much, and they do get themselves into situations. So that's where I may come into it all.
Without an exact location, co-pilot Hugh Pearce must guide pilot Ollie Padbury to a general search area.
So Ollie, if we start from the blue anchor, searching along these cliffs, they say they're somewhere between Watchet and Blue Anchor.
Okay.
All right, so that's a 2-mile length.
Right. I'll enter slightly left of the bridge then.
Right, that little village we can see on the coast, Ollie, is Blue Anchor.
Okay.
All right, there's somewhere from there, and you can see the cliffs rising beyond there with a cloud fairly close to the top.
Yep. Rolls open, smoke's ready. A visual 2 o'clock. 2 adults, 2 children.
In normal circumstances, Rescue 169 would waste no time in winching the family to safety. But winching through trees is risky. If the cable gets caught, it could snap, springing back into the rotor blades, crashing the helicopter.
I reckon it's worth trying to get them to get down to the beach. It's quite a climb that, boss.
Okay. If you want to move away, I'll tell them on the mobile to get down to the beach, yeah?
I just think it could be a bit of a precarious climb that, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not a good winching position for us though, is it?
Yeah, it's not ideal.
Rescue 169 must make a tough decision. Send the family down the treacherous slope, or attempt a hazardous and unpredictable winch through the canopy of trees. Each year, thousands of container ships ply their trade in the English Channel, carrying millions of tons of goods in and out of the country. But crewing these ships is a physically demanding and potentially dangerous job.
Andromeda J.
Andromeda J, Coast Guard, what sort of assistance do you require? Over.
I need a doctor.
The Coast Guard have requested the assistance of the RNLI to rescue a crewman from a container ship, injured falling between container loads.
You are launched to a medical evacuation of a injured crewman.
Coxswain Stewart, who's been working for the Seaborne charity for 21 years, pilots the lifeboat out of the marina into the Dover Strait, bound for Andromeda J, which is waiting 10 kilometres offshore.
It appears though that he's actually fallen off a container, or we've been asked to evacuate him by the Coast Guard to get him to a hospital.
So he has about a 5 centimetre wound on his leg, and you can see muscle, is that right, over?
Yeah, about 10-15 centimetres below the left knee.
Such a deep gash will need urgent attention if it's not to become dangerously infected. The lifeboat pushes 25 knots to race to the destination.
That is the Andromeda J cargo ship. They're in 091 nautical miles.
Get up to see him there.
Yeah, it's there.
Plan is to put you two aboard, assess it, see what the situation is. Whatever you want us to do, we'll do it. Okay.
As the Andromeda J draws closer, the team members with paramedic training prepare their medical kit, led by senior crewman Ian Miller. The 8,000-ton Andromeda J, capable of carrying 962 containers, dwarfs the Dover lifeboat. Coxswain Stewart has to use his years of experience to bring the vessel safely alongside. With the medical team on board, they set about locating the casualty.
I fell down between the two hatch covers. My leg come to here. Right. There was 2 H's and probably...
Over lifeboat, over lifeboat.
Lifeboat, Alpha, this is Dover Lifeboat, go ahead, over.
Yeah, just assessing the casualty at the moment. We'll give you a sit back in approximately 2 or 3 minutes.
Working on container ships involves the hazardous job of keeping the massive, tightly packed containers secure. The casualty has been injured after falling between these containers. The temporary dressing is removed to reveal a gash in his leg, which goes right down to the muscle.
Getting looked at. Quite open, but
A wound this deep needs immediate hospital treatment. It will have to be sterilised and the cut stitched. Crewman Ian applies a fresh dressing to stem any further bleeding or risk of infection. He radios back to the lifeboat with a status update.
Right, the gentleman's left leg from the knee down, he's got trapped between two containers and he's got a cut which is actually open. We're going to go and strap it up and bring it back to the lifeboat. He's going to go and have it checked out. It's over. Over.
Satisfied that the Polish seaman is in a stable condition, the crew escort him from the cargo ship to the lifeboat. Stewart expertly draws the lifeboat alongside the Andromeda J to safely transfer the injured man.
Left leg, bad leg.
The Polish crewman's voyage has reached an abrupt end. Once ashore, he'll stay in Dover to receive medical treatment. Now a man down, the Andromeda J will continue to Dublin without him. On the North Devon coast, Rescue 169 have raced 50 kilometres to a family cut off by the tide.
2 adults and 2 children.
Winchman Andy Penrose is faced with a complex rescue through trees.
Basically, when we come to the harbour, develops a rotor wash, a downwash if you like, and that force is obviously just blowing onto the trees, and if it's quite loose branches, then also there's a potential for the branch to snap and go into the casualties, and equally it's a snagging hazard for me and the casualties when we try and effect a rescue.
If the cable catches on the branches, it could snap and spring back into the rotor blades, sending the helicopter crashing.
Height-wise, I'm quite happy to be pretty high to try and minimise the downwash.
Okay. 2 shots, you can do 2 3-man lifts.
Yeah, I'll come up with 2 kiddies, and I'll go back down to 2 adults as well.
Okay. Think about perhaps doing 1 adult, 1 child.
Okay, yeah, just to minimise the weight.
However you're up.
Yeah, I'll have a look.
Right, 10, that's trees. Right to the adult. I'm going to go between those trees, those branches, Andy. Okay, continue right 6 and back. We're fine, the trees are downwash.
Now the downwash is separating the trees, it's time to start the descent.
And it's down at tree level, steady, about 10 feet of cable to go. He's on the ground, working with the hook, empty hook.
On the ground through the helicopter noise, Andy explains he'll be doing 2 lifts. First up will be Mum and 3-year-old David.
Downwash isn't too bad down there at all, really.
Okay, good. Thank you.
It's windy, but we're not blowing anything.
Okay, good.
Winchman Andy decides not to use the standard bulky child valise to reduce the chance of it snagging on the branches of the trees.
Pushing in. Right one. Steady. Feel the branches, feel the tree line. Left one. Again, feel all the branches. Winching in all the way to the aircraft.
For 3-year-old David, it's the ride of his life.
About 100 feet cable tonight. Roger. 20 feet cable to go. It'll be your switch to adjust the top of the arm. Roger. Where's the pilot? Pilot. Out. Stop. Crew. Set up board.
With Mum and David safely on board, Andy heads back down for Dad and 9-year-old Rebecca.
Watching out. Forward one and left. Trying to avoid the worst of the trees. Alright. Through the canopy now, steady. Andy, bring it back up. Up and over that, okay, down. On the ground. Okay. Ready for lift. Right one up forward.
As they begin the second winch, Andy encounters a problem.
Stop, Roger. Stop. Stop. Back to the ground, Woody. Yep.
The helicopter's downdraft is pushing the winch cable out of control.
Steady. Push out to the ground. Just trying to get free of the tree line. Okay. As soon as it comes through the ground, the downwash will take them right to the branches. Okay, we're good to go, Woody. Okay, mate. I'll take it up from there and you're going to go right. So lift you off the ground, then move right. Okay.
Compensating for the helicopter turbulence, the winch is attempted again.
Steady. Forward one.
But the cable becomes snagged on a branch.
Clear there, Andy.
Andy, Father Anthony and daughter Rebecca are left hanging in mid-air. It's a tense situation for everybody.
In. Left one and back.
To everyone's relief, the cable is freed.
Clear the tree line. We are now. We're well clear the trees now. Forward one. And now we'll go with the sea. Okay. Try and get the cable to go. So you'll switch in a second. Okay. That's quite a tricky winch actually, boss. Yeah, it sounded it. Trying to get clear the trees that were moving and thread the needle. Lots of cable.
With all the family safely on board, Rescue 169 can head to a nearby field, where the Watch It Coast Guard rescue team take over their care.
We was walking along from Warren Farm campsite down to Blue Anchor. We've not done the walk before, and as we've come round the bend, we've spotted the sea's quite close in. And coming back as well, the sea is quite close in, so I just thought, well, rather than risk getting cut off by the sea completely, to get back up to higher ground and then call in the Coast Guard. Cheers. I feel a bit of a prat really, mate, but I'm very relieved to see them guys, yeah.
For Winchman Andy and the rest of the crew, it's another job well done and time to head back to base. Fallen climber Nigel Tuckley was diagnosed with an open compound fracture to his wrist, and doctors discovered he'd also severed his radial artery. He had a plate inserted into his wrist and is making a good recovery. Both the skipper and the owner of the Northern Irish fishing trawler Benaya 4 were later issued with official written warnings by the MMO with regard to the undersized nets. If they re-offend, they could face a fine or prosecution. Next time, cliff-face drama for the RAF as they battle to rescue a badly injured climber with a shattered ankle.
He's off at right angles. Oh,
A deep-sea dive gets underway in the Channel to chart the secrets of a 17th century shipwreck. And a Navy warship sends out a distress call to the RAF to rescue an injured sailor.
Because we've got about 20 minutes on scene to get the whole thing sorted out.